First, should have stuck with Joe. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, for years at public appearances, Joe Biden was repeating himself, often speaking in gibberish.
Those are the words of Ketanji Brown Jackson. End of quote. Repeat the line. Will not bring Israel and will not bring down, will only bog down Israel and Gaza.
Well, they are about to contract a wicked case of buyer's remorse over at the Democrat Party because the new Emerson swing state poll shows that every battleground is tied except Georgia, where Trump is up by 2. The economy remains the #1 issue in all of those states. And of course, every poll shows that the public trusts Trump over Kamala on the economy. And other key metrics that spell trouble for Kamala and Walz. Well, Gallup is showing that the GOP has an advantage in party registration. And Republicans are making real inroads in Pennsylvania, eroding the Democrats' voter registration edge there. Democrats have never had such a small advantage there as they do now. And Politico is reporting that internal polling shows the Harris campaign is worried. Read the piece, words like jittery and warning signs are used. So 40 days out from the election, this is what Kamala Harris, all the support they're getting from the press, and a huge money advantage gets the Democrats? A tie? Which begs the question, is Kamala really any stronger than Biden would have been? In a few solo appearances she's done, the American people see, what, a woman in charge? Do they see a confident, smart leader with a bold vision? Does she have a command of all the issues that matter? Or even, does she know which branch of government authorizes spending?
If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes.
Okay. This was the friendliest of interviewers, by the way, and her goal was not to embarrass, but to help Harris. And even then, Harris couldn't handle it.
There are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan.
Another question, another tired cliche from Kamala, and a favorite new word.
Looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
And just as Trump's team could turn Biden's own words into a compelling campaign commercial for him, well, last night, Kamala's own words wrote their own ad for Trump.
You know, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. You know, gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
She's too much of a dullard, I think, to realize that she trashed her own record there as vice president. Or to take a few hours, maybe, could she possibly take a few hours to study the history of tariffs, which she's obviously just never bothered to do.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious and have a plan.
One must be serious. And what would she know exactly about a serious plan? After all, she lies about hers.
Top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs, have compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy.
Well, a few weeks ago, Goldman Sachs came out and threw cold water on her claims, calling them overstated. That's a friendly way of saying false. But Kamala keeps citing them anyway. Why not? Again, I ask, how is any of this better than Biden? When he gets lost, he loves filling time with sappy sentiment that sounds like it was written by ChatGPT. Same with Kamala.
We got to remember, we're the United States of America, for God's sake. Nothing is beyond our capacity when we work together.
We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be.
And that was another sit down with a buddy, I have to remind you. She couldn't answer the most basic questions about lowering the cost of living. And that star-studded forum was supposed to help her, but it didn't. Even with the kind of what's your favorite color type questions, Kamala manages to sound like a total imbecile.
Why is joy important to you to insert into this election?
Sometimes I think, and I'll say to whoever the young people are who are watching this, there are some times when your adversaries will try and turn your strength into a weakness. Don't you let them. Don't you let them. I find joy in the American people.
Vapid is my word of the day to describe her. But wait, you say, Kamala did great at the debate. Well, if she did, it's only because ABC refused to fact-check her in real time. She lied, and then she got away with it.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's remember Charlottesville. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Lie. I mean, it's all the same. But of course, just like Joe Biden, she can read teleprompters. But is this really that convincing? Today, she sounded like she was doing her best Liz Cheney. Let's go to war impersonation.
There are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality. These proposals are the same of those of Putin. They are proposals for surrender, which is dangerous and unacceptable.
Yes, and I found my earring. All right, in other words, if Kamala wins, we're going to war with Russia, period, full stop. If she sat down with an interview with any competent person in 5 minutes, I think he or she could force her into a corner, saying, Madam Vice President, if it's clear that Ukraine has no real chance of prevailing against Putin, as it increasingly looks like, do you intend to escalate the conflict, even if that means putting American soldiers at risk in a war with Russia? Yes or no, ma'am? On all of these issues, she is far worse than Biden. At least Biden had his own views on issues like foreign policy. And remember, he slow-walked the shipment of F-16s over to Zelensky. Her language today, though, was far more bellicose than Biden's ever was. And that's just because she's a puppet of the war caucus. She doesn't care if we go to war with Russia or not. So we'll see where things end up on election night. But right now, it seems the Democrats' trade of Biden for Kamala was a really, really dumb move. She's just as cringeworthy on camera as he is. She can't explain her own economic policy, and now she's running on a war with Russia platform. This was not political genius by Pelosi and company, and it may have been political suicide. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.